Hallo zusammen! Today we're gonna take a look at this German scene in Django Unchained, a great movie with lots of great actors. I'm not only gonna be sharing why I think this is a masterclass of acting, but I'm also gonna be sharing interesting linguistic details and things about this scene in specific, being a German native speaker and language-focused YouTuber. So let's get into this. So I just finished filming my analysis of this scene, me diving into the linguistic aspects of this conversation that they have and what is so interesting and so well done in terms of acting in this scene, right? And I noticed that I had a lot to say, and that is why I will make a, maybe 2-3-ish part series of this. I really enjoyed analyzing this and watching this from a linguistic point of view for the first time ever. So yeah, enjoy. Before we're gonna dive into this specific scene, here's a little background on what this movie is actually about and how this situation actually came about. Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained is set in the mid to late 1850s, meaning at the height of slavery in the US and leading up to the Civil War. This is Christoph Waltz from Austria, German-speaking actor, or as you may know him, Christoph Waltz, and he is portraying Dr. King Schultz. Schultz is a German-born bounty hunter, der Kopfgeldjäger, the money headhunter, translated literally. And after meeting the slave Django, who's portrayed by Jamie Foxx, he is really impressed by his skills and his determination of wanting to succeed in life, wanting to make something out of his life, and therefore he basically buys him free in exchange of him becoming his partner in crime, his partner in bounty hunting. Now, as partners in crime and with a strengthened bond, so to speak, Schultz finds out that Django's wife, Brunhilde, also known as Hildy in the movie, that she's also a slave. He decides to help him reunite with his wife and to free her out of slavery. By the way, Brunhilde is an anglicized form of Brunhilde, which is an outdated, but back then common German name for women. She is located at Candyland, which is a farm or a plantation, you could rather say, in Mississippi. Now at Candyland, Dr. Schultz assists in freeing Brunhilde from Candace's captivity, if you can call it like that, but at the end of the day, that's it basically. And of course, he also keeps his promise and reunites Brunhilde with Django, but she doesn't know that yet. And that is exactly the awesome scene that we're about to watch and analyze a little bit, linguistically speaking. So without further ado, let's dive into this, I'd say. So I'm gonna pause after each German sentence in order to explain a few things and to highlight interesting things linguistically speaking. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1, play.
Hello, ladies.
Dr. Schultz, may I introduce to you Brunhilde? Hildy, this is Dr. Schultz.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Brunhilde. I've heard a lot of good things about you.
Well, it's not every nigger speaks German, don't you know?
You know, I love his demeanor here, his behavior, his non-verbal behavior. He is great verbally speaking, which we're gonna find out in the forthcoming scene as well. But what we're also gonna see is that he is phenomenal in the non-verbal expression. He's telling her that he's having none of this slavery BS while trying to remain friendly enough on the surface so that there's not gonna be trouble.
The doctor here speaks German.
And I've been informed you do as well.
Go ahead, girl. Speak a little German.
Es wäre mir ein Vergnügen, mit dir auf Deutsch zu sprechen.
Es wäre mir ein Vergnügen, mit dir auf Deutsch zu sprechen. Now, what she's doing here is she is using the informal form of address, and that is really interesting. I don't know if it's that she is trying to make a connection right away, because usually in German, when you meet someone, let's say an adult or an older teenager, and you don't know that person, you would rather say Sie. You would use the formal form of address as a polite addressing of that person, you know, getting to know each other.
Es wäre mir ein Vergnügen, mit dir auf Deutsch zu sprechen.
Keeping a polite distance in a way, being neutral. But she is starting with the informal form of address, dir.
Astonishing. Treten Sie ein, mein Fräulein.
Treten Sie ein, mein Fräulein. He is using the exact opposite. He is using the formal form of address, and he's using the interesting, nowadays outdated German term, das Fräulein. Back in the olden days, it was mostly used for a young, unmarried, and a childless woman. However, these days, you wouldn't use that term anymore. And nowadays, Germans simply say die Frau for all women. Whether they are married, unmarried, they have children, they don't have children, it doesn't matter anymore. Linguistically speaking, what's interesting about this term is that it's sort of a minimized form of die Frau, the woman. Fräulein, the suffix lein is quite typical for a minimized form, you could say. So it's even belittling the woman in a linguistic way, you could say. For him, in that context, this taking part in the 1850s, it's not outlandish by any means.
Treten Sie ein, mein Fräulein.
What's also worth noting about this is that he is using the self-reflexive possessive pronoun mein Fräulein, my missus, so to speak. Knowing what kind of character he is and that he is an empathetic human being, he is, he wants the best for her. It's not that drastic in a way, but out of context you could argue, and especially remaining in this time frame, you could also argue that indeed it is possessive. In his case though, in this situation right here, that I guess simply goes to show that he is welcomed as his guest in a way.
And I shall bring
Much obliged. Darf ich Ihnen ein Glas Wasser einschenken?
Darf ich Ihnen ein Glas Wasser einschenken? Once again, the formal form of address, very polite, keeping a distance, a polite distance, but still, welcoming her into the room, welcoming her into the situation, being very open-minded, very friendly, offering her a glass of water.
Darf ich Ihnen ein Glas Wasser einschenken?
And talking about glasses, not these, but this, it's das Glas, singular, die Gläser, plural. And he's even asking her in a very polite way, darf ich? Am I allowed to? So he's breaking the ice. He's very friendly here.
Ja?
Her ja is very, airy and very light because she's still uncertain. She doesn't really know what to make of this whole situation. That is not what she is expecting. And that is a big part of why this scene is so awesome, I think. Quentin Tarantino, and especially Christoph Waltz leading the scene, they are playing with the viewer's expectations and also with hers, in character. She is expecting brutality, unfriendliness, impoliteness, and all of those things and more. And none of that is happening. But she, of course, doesn't know that yet. She doesn't know what to expect. So she is zurückhaltend, hesitant. She is very short and abrupt in her reply.
Ja?
Ja? Almost like in a question-like way. Ja? Am I allowed to drink a glass of water? Thank you, sir. Didn't expect this. Something like that, right? The ice is slowly melting.
Sie brauchen keine Angst zu haben.
Sie brauchen keine Angst zu haben. Don't be afraid. Formal, but still getting closer to each other, keeping the proximity close and breaking the ice even more. Not just verbally and tonally, very soothing, calming tone, but also physically, both holding on to the glass.
Sie brauchen keine Angst zu haben.
Him bringing her the glass, handing it over to her, instead of her having to get the glass herself, He's a gentleman, which, by the way, is a term that Germans would also use, der Gentleman.
Entschuldigen Sie mich.
Entschuldigen Sie mich, which is an interesting phrase when you think about it, because he is asking her to excuse him, which is also very polite, of course.
Entschuldigen Sie mich.
But these days, I feel like Germans may rather say something like, würden Sie mich bitte entschuldigen? Would you please excuse me?